let's go to the next question here. And this one, let me double check it's the right one, is from Yuri. Is there such thing as useless immersion? Based on your experience, which type of activity completely messes up immersion? Which sorts of things should I avoid? And then they actually do put in here, besides good old not focusing, not concentrating.
Dang it, that was what I was going to say.
That was the main thing.
So just to reiterate, if you're not paying attention, you're probably not getting much out of it. There are some people who say, oh, you just listen to it in the background and you tune in and out occasionally and it provides value. There is some research that shows that is effective at higher levels of fluency. But in the beginning stages, kind of useless. It's just white noise to you.
And also in that case, I tend to feel like the pressure of like always having it on or that sort of thing might even be more negative than the slight positives that you do get.
Yeah.
But if you're completely unstressed about it and you just like do it kind of for fun, sure, whatever.
Yeah.
You do you.
But completely ignoring immersion or listening to it while you're sleeping, that's also been demonstrated to not have any value whatsoever. Those are 100% useless. If you are not paying attention to it, it's pretty much useless. In terms of like, what kinds of immersions might screw things up? Dialectical differences can be a pretty big factor if they are significantly different dialects. So if you are immersing in Brazilian Portuguese and trying to learn Brazilian Portuguese, immersing in Portuguese from Portugal, European Portuguese, probably not very useful. May even cause problems in your understanding or your accent with Brazilian Portuguese, because those two dialects are so different from each other, they're basically mutually unintelligible. Less of an issue for Spanish because the Spanish dialects are pretty much all mutually intelligible with the exception of the Caribbean, which sometimes is a little hard for people to understand, even natives.
Or Chile.
Oh, yes, Chile.
That's the more famous one.
That's true. So, it's not a deal breaker. It's not going to completely ruin all your immersion, but it can cause some weird artifacts. Myself, someone asked us in our course Discord server today, like, should I focus on one dialect or another? And in my experience with Spanish, I did not focus on a dialect. I was all over the place with my Spanish dialects. And now my combination of Spanish is so strange for people. They have no idea where I'm from. They always ask me, like, are you from Spain? Are you, like, where are you from that, like, this is how you speak? Because no one can really place where it's from, because it's this, like, weird mix of different dialects. So that can cause problems later on. Not useless by any means, definitely still provides value, but can cause some problems later on. Other than that, I don't really feel like there's any useless immersion. As long as you're engaged with it, as long as you're paying attention, as long as you are trying to parse it, trying to understand things, you're going to get something out of it.
Slightly tangentially to this, it's not useless, but like if you have too much of one kind, then that like additional kind of immersion can become less useful, right? So if you just have way too much free flow, and that's like 98% of your immersion, right? You're only really getting, like, you'd probably be getting almost the exact same amount of benefit from doing maybe half of it.
Yeah.
Because you're just sort of overloading on that one style of immersion, and doing another more focused, more dedicated, more interactive style might be way more useful. So it's not useless, but it is not as useful as it could be, right? You're maybe losing efficiency by overloading on whatever it might be.
Yeah, it's really important to have a balance between the different activities. And we go into detail in this in our course of, okay, here are the core activities that you have. What is the right balance? And then how does that balance change over time? Because free flow immersion on day 1 is way less useful than free flow immersion on day 1,000, when you can already pretty much understand the language. So the usefulness of each activity changes over time, and the proportions in which you are spending your time should change with that. And one of the things that I really want to stress to people is that you should be constantly asking yourself, how do I optimize? Because what's going on in your head is going to be you're going to have more insight than me as a third party, just because you can understand your own thought processes. Maybe if you think about the problem in a different way, or if you think about the sentence in a different way, you think about immersion in a different way, or you spend your time slightly differently, you can improve. And so it's really important to constantly be asking yourself, how do I keep improving? Going back to the question earlier of like, why do people stop improving, is because they stop asking themselves that question. How do I improve my language learning? How do I improve my language learning process? How do I improve my ability? How do I identify the things that are I'm struggling with, and then target my immersion towards that, target my study towards that. So I guess that's the other thing where you could say is like useless immersion. Once you reach that plateau of I'm good enough, if you are not working to improve, then all of the work that you do, all the time that you spend, it's going to be fun, it's going to be interesting, but you're just going to see very tiny improvements. You're not going to see significant ones. So as
you're already fluent, you shouldn't read graded readers anymore.
Probably not. Exactly. So make sure that you are constantly pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone, constantly improving, because if you are spending all of your time doing super, super easy things for you, you're probably not going to see much improvement, and that you could consider useless, because it's just, you're just not going to see very much improvement from that.
Cool. Thank you, Yuri, for the question. Thank you for the response.
Before we move on, just want to say, anyone who's watching live, feel free to drop questions in the chat. We're going to save some time at the end to answer them.
Yes, I already see a good one in here.
Hey, as you know, there's a lot of language learning advice out there, which can make it kind of overwhelming and difficult to actually get going on your own learning. If you feel like you're struggling to figure out language learning, you're not alone. It's an extremely complicated process with tons of different steps. If you're looking for a step-by-step guide to create the perfect language learning routine for you, then you have to check out our new course. We spent thousands of hours designing a simple and straightforward process that you can use to create your own personalized language routine that actually works. We understand that every learner is different and that you have to roll with the punches and adapt. Every day for 30 days, I walk you through everything you need to know to build an effective learning routine, no matter your circumstances. We give you the advice and resources you need to ensure your success, so you don't have to waste time looking for stuff to do and can focus on learning. And if any questions do come up, don't worry. We are always there to answer any questions and clear up confusion. And it's all backed by our 90-day, no questions asked, money-back guarantee. If, for whatever reason, something's not quite working for you, we insist you get every penny back. It's time for you to stop wishing that you could learn a second language. It's time to become the master of your language learning journey. Check out the link below to get instant access and start your journey today.